are from all over the world. ICMAT, we love you all. And every year we meet, even online.
Now we continue with our session, next session, that you will we will discuss issues on cultural and tourism perspectives. Today is the World Tourism Day, and of course we have as a session, many sessions in fact, because we also had yesterday tourism related issues. Of course, our conference is tourism and marketing and tourism, and please enjoy this session with our wonderful friends from all over the world. Please, the panel that we have is here. We have Zilmiya, we have Maria, we have Marina, and we have Nikos. We continue with our next presentation, which is about underwater cultural heritage tourism and diving tourism alternatives in the COVID-19 era. A very interesting thing to discuss now that we have COVID-19 and we cannot be in crowds. We will have alternative ways of how we can see cultural tourism and cultural heritage. And Ms. Dr. Vrasida, please present.
Hello again. Before starting the presentation, I would like to address a question to everyone listening. Just think about it. How many of you have taken a rock or a seashell from the beach? And this is more or less something that my presentation will be about. Let me just find a way to start the presentation. So I'm sharing my desktop and the presentation. Yes, I think I did it. So
to be honest with you, when we were visiting islands in Malaysia and we saw all the corals and everything, we wanted to take a souvenir, but the police did not allow us from Phuket to take anything. But in Greece, it's more
it's more free, yes.
More complicated.
So we're talking about underwater cultural heritage tourism and diving tourism, and if we can offer an alternative, especially in the COVID-19 area. The aim of the paper, as you can see from the title, is to find a way to present a viable alternative for cultural underwater tourism that does not include diving. And the reason we don't want to include diving will be explained to you in a minute. But first of all, it is important to define underwater cultural heritage. According to the 2001 UNESCO Convention, underwater cultural heritage means all traces of human existence having a cultural, historical, or archaeological character, which have been partially or totally underwater, periodically or continuously, for at least 100 years. From this definition, combined with seawater level rise due to climate change, we can safely assume that underwater cultural heritage sites are continuously increasing and will continue to increase in the next year. So it is very important to find a way to mobilize that hidden sleeping asset. But first of all, you've seen that I've come from an organization, EGTC Amphictyony, and I want to say a few words about what EGTCs are. EGTCs are European organizations under the Committee of the Regions, and the initials stand for European Grouping of Territorial Cooperation. And their main goal and reason for existence is to solve cross-border transnational problems and address issues that in borderline areas and borderline municipalities in a more effective way. To give you a very brief example, for example, an EGTC between a municipality in Spain and Portugal is running the hospital in Spain so that people from both Portugal municipality and Spanish municipality can visit that hospital, regardless of which country they are located in. So it's solving transnational problems in borderline regions. Amphictyony, EGTC Amphictyony. It's a Mediterranean EGTC with member municipalities from many different Mediterranean countries, and some of them are not even belonging to the EU. The problem is that the Mediterranean countries do not share, in many cases, land borders. The Mediterranean basin is the common ground, or shall I say the common water, that connects these countries. Therefore, it becomes extremely important to explore the needs and the things that unite all these countries into a common sea. We need to, as it says in the picture, to go back to where we came from, as the card writes, and to find ways to collaborate and work together, sharing a border, not a land border, but a sea border. So this was the main idea that inspired the Underwater Cultural Heritage Project. And although you're all very accustomed to hearing results and things that happened in best practices and results, here in this presentation, I will just give you our dream. And I would like all of you to share that dream, and maybe we can make something bigger of that dream. As economic resources are becoming sparse, and with the pandemic of COVID-19, the economy took a very significant blow, and it is now more important than ever to find new assets and new alternatives for countries, regions, and municipalities. We need to find new ways to mobilize the economy. So, underwater cultural heritage and public access to underwater cultural heritage provides communities with a tangible connection to their past, fosters local pride, and stimulates people's awareness and respect for underwater heritage. It's been happening with land heritage for ages, but it's now the time to find that hidden asset and bring it to the surface, or rather, bring the sea basin to the surface, the image of the sea basin to the surface. Social cohesion at a local and European level and through job creation helps retain population in small island communities, and small island communities in Greece are suffering from population loss. So we need to find a new way to mobilize the economy there, to start up a new economic activity there, especially now that tourism is going through dire straits. It can be crucial. It can be a crucial economic asset for the local tourism industry, and it can be a sustainable and resilient economic asset because it's based on cultural tourism, and cultural tourism is by definition alternative, sustainable, and resilient. It ensures the monitoring of sites and state of preservation, and can help finance protection and research. When we have an archaeological site on land, no one can take a souvenir. Let's go back to the initial question. No one can take something from there because it's been preserved and visited, and it's defined as an archaeological site. But the same is not happening with underwater archaeological sites. Because we're not visiting them, and because the way to bring them forward and make them accessible to the public does not yet exist, or it's not very well organized, anyone, any diver can go and just take something from there. And believe me, it's happening in Greece a lot. So diving tourism has taken a significant blow as well. So it's not the answer. We cannot go diving in the COVID-19 area, and it has been almost halted. And I'm sure Zimeyao from Singapore can tell us that diving tourism, which was a very big part of Singaporean tourism, is now to an absolute stop, for now at least. It's mostly a sport or a recreational activity run by the private sector, and there has been continued concern about the detrimental impacts divers can have on the marine environment, either by taking something or by being not educated enough to preserve or to approach archaeological sites with a certain amount of caution and respect that is absolutely necessary. And keep in mind that in land archaeological site, there are no private-owned or privately operated land archaeological sites. So the same thing should go for underwater archaeological sites. Diving cultural tourism requires experts, requires archaeologists, requires someone to give you a heritage interpretation, to give you a narrative, to explain what you see, and to tell you how to approach, how to deal, and how to interact with that cultural site, with that archaeological site. Finally, shared equipment, which is usually the case with diving tourism, is an absolute threat for the widespread of COVID-19, or it requires a lot of effort in the cleaning process or sanitization process of all the equipment. So diving tourism could be the answer for tapping into that hidden asset of underwater cultural heritage. But in the COVID-19 area, it is very difficult to follow that path. And the question now becomes, is there an alternative? Can we find a way to protect, define, and bring forward underwater cultural heritage and tap on that hidden submerged asset, but without the dive? Let's see the details of our project before giving you the answer. Our vision was to reignite the flame of cooperation and co-planning in the Mediterranean basin. And I know the choice of words of igniting a flame in the Mediterranean basin with everything that's happening around us right now, the political situation, may be a poor choice of words, but this is exactly what we need to do, reignite a different flame, reminding the common history that we have shared, remind countries of the things that unite us rather than the things that divide us. Our aim is to offer a viable alternative for the coastal municipalities to tap into their hidden underwater assets, while at the same time offering protection through the creation of a registry census for underwater heritage sites, and with land in situ observatories. In situ means inside, observatories that are situated where the actual heritage is. And there is a very good argument for that, but we'll see that in a minute. Our partners, not in crime, our partners in the dream, are municipalities of Chios, Milopotamos, St. Nicholas in Crete, Preveza, Stylida, Salamina, the municipality of Lipsi, the municipality of Dorida, the Institute of Technology and Research in Crete, the Institute of Archaeological Underwater Research, the University of Piraeus, and we're operating with knowledge and help of the Ministry of Tourism. And we're in the process of reaching UNESCO and reaching the Ministry of Culture. We're still in the process of doing that. We've prepared a proposal and we're trying to reach those as well. What's the role of EGTC in all that? EGTC is supposed to be, as explained from the way they were created, the unifying link, the one that manages and controls the archaeological needs, the research needs, the tourism needs, the local needs, and all those things together in a globalized or more or less European framework. Dry food access to underwater cultural heritage is when we can see and experience underwater cultural heritage without actually going into the water, without diving. And there have been examples of that. There are a number of existing museums for underwater cultural heritage, and they have been implemented, with the most notable examples being the Vasa Museum in Stockholm, where things from the water have been brought into a museum near where the archaeological site is, and the Submerged Museum of Alexandria. Here's a picture of that. And they're all operating under the supervision of the UNESCO. The importance of having in situ experience is, first of all, the preservation of cultural heritage in situ shall be considered as the first option before allowing or engaging in any other activities directed at this heritage, as UNESCO says. The rule is based on the concept of protecting not only the remains, but also their context and the meaning, because their authenticity, as proof of their true antiquity and distinctive aura, lies on the safeguard of the context, what's happening around the archaeological site. The same principle will be carried in our project, having land observatories in the place where the actual heritage site is. So you can go there in Salamina, for example, where the battle went, when the battle happened, and you can have an experience with 3D imaging or virtual imaging, or enhanced reality images, or enhanced reality, images of what's happening underwater. But when you raise your head, and you look around you, you see the actual landscape where the battle happened. You're in the place where the battle happened. You see the same things that the battleships were facing. And that enhances the experience and puts it in context, makes it more real, more tangible. Land observatories can be accessible for non-divers throughout the year and allow education and cultural appreciation in a safe, controlled environment. Keywords for COVID-19: safe and controlled environment. It's a building that's being refurbished that exists along the coast, and it can follow COVID-19 restrictions, and all the restrictions can be applied with social distancing and keeping visitors and spectators apart, and providing 3D images of the seabed without actually having to dive and share equipment, and in an environment that is specifically built and case-specific to follow the instructions and the needs and the restrictions of COVID-19. The revenue production from this new alternative form of cultural tourism can help protect underwater heritage and can help expand the research for underwater heritage. And even the definition of underwater heritage sites as heritage sites gives them a sense of protection. Any means of restarting the economy in the post-COVID-19 area must be explored and planned for, and that's the basic idea of planning. I know we're not in the post-COVID-19 era now, but starting this project now can give us an alternative for later. Finally, our conclusions, and hopefully you can share the dream with me. Underwater cultural heritage is one of the most important unexploited hidden assets, and we need to tap on every available asset in order to restart our economy in the post-COVID-19 era. Planning for an economic resilience, and resilience means taking the hit and being able to withstand that hit, needs to explore new sustainable resources of generating economic growth and restarting the economy. Local communities globally can greatly benefit from the shared awareness of a common underwater cultural heritage and its potential. It's important for communities to understand that we're fighting problems together and we're finding solutions together. Because as the Commissioner for the UNESCO said, there is no future without solidarity and cooperation. And we need to find ways and things that unite us and things that will help us fight and deal with every new crisis that comes along together. Thank you for listening, and thank you for sharing our dream. And if you have any comments or you want to participate in our dream, I'm just giving you our emails. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Maria. I have a question that we will ask in the end. Yes, please, Professor Gounaris.
First of all, can we double check that you can hear me?
Yes, please come closer to the microphone and we can hear you, yes.
All right. Excellent. Let me start by saying that I am not popular among my colleagues because I speak my mind, and I'm not pizza, and I am not Coca-Cola. Okay. Hopefully I'm helpful. All right. So to start with, because while watching this, live session, in addition to the question that I wanted to ask Marina, which I'm going to, other things came up as well. So the first thing, and this is just a feedback, okay? The word revelry translates to orgy, Roman orgy. So we need to be very, very careful when we pick words, to communicate with people in their native language. I think Greek party would be, sending the message, because we don't want to have people thinking that we are telling them about Roman orgies. All right.
Yes, sorry for the wrong translation.
Christ, just ignore if you want to. It is entirely up to you. Then I'm going to come to Marina, not Marina, to Maria Vrasida. I'm going to leave Marina, my favorite one, because she's a colleague. I'm going to give her the privilege to be the last one. Marina, I am Maria Vrasida. Myself, I am a diver. And I was, awed by the presentation that you made. In my books, it seems that you have a certain picture about divers. I'm not saying if this is right or wrong. My question is very simple from the marketing perspective. Is there any evidence coming from, say, marketing research to back up claims like, for example, that divers share equipment, for instance? I mean, my experience, and coming with the cohort with whom I am associated with, we all carry our own equipment like golfers do. And we are even willing to pay, for the extra cost. And we are also willing to pay, I would say 10 times fold, the typical ticket that it would get us into a museum. Now, I mean, for living the experience of the underwater diving and the opportunity to visit antiquities. What I'm trying to say really here is that why would we or should we treat the two approaches as incompatible instead of, making this plus the other? Why should one exclude the other? Do we have any hard evidence coming from market research? Being practitioners, you know what I mean.
Being a diver myself, I also carry my equipment, and I don't share equipment with anyone. And I was actually I felt a bit appalled by the fact that market research said that this is, and governments stopping diving said that this is a recreational activity and people share equipment. Where in the world do they share equipment? Only the first dive where they're trying to hook you into diving is the time when you share equipment. Exactly. But this was a official view of many governments, that they should stop diving because of that. So, of course, they're not incompatible. The one is halted right now, so I'm trying to offer an alternative. And in future times, ideally, when all this COVID-19 era will be behind us, divers will also be employed or even helpful towards the land observatories, because they will be the ones doing the real the dive in real time, and people will be able to observe them, their wives, their children, their elderly, people with disabilities. And again, even in that sense, I disagree, because one of the most famous divers in Greece that has a school is a person with disabilities, and it's not exclusive to people with disabilities. But yet again, let's just say people who just want their feet wet. Let's just characterize them as that. And it's an alternative. It's not or, it's an either or situation, and they're not incompatible. The definition of diving spaces as spaces where as archaeological sites can help preserve them, and that can only happen with land observatories. And I don't know why, but local governments do not allow dives near archaeological sites. That's also not allowed through legislation, because they consider them dangerous. In my opinion, divers are the most environmentally aware, culturally aware, and a very attractive niche market for tourism. But it's not the way governments view them. It's only now starting to change with the new legislation. And hopefully offering an alternative will enhance the niche diving market as well.
So maybe this is a great opportunity, and if you would like, a vision or a dream to be, wider and not the next month's nightmare, to envision how we can spread diving, because diving is, a multi-million, I would be tempted to say billion, but I would keep it to the million level, industry in tourism. And it is about time that governments, and especially the Greek government, because if you are a diver, I'm sure you are fully aware of all the restrictions that the Greek government puts us divers, and we cannot dive, wherever we want, I think not legally. So I would certainly undersign a vision that would include, a piece for the diving sector in the tourism industry, as per se, because this is experiential economy, and obviously divers I would say, I don't have the facts, I don't have the evidence myself either, but as a rule of thumb, and coming from my personal experience, I would say that they are above the average in terms of spending when it comes to the tourism sector.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, let's keep it above the average. So maybe with a huge coastal line like the one Greece has, a very friendly to the divers climate, maybe Greece at some point, maybe in 3000 BC, ACC, should start considering, this form of developing the tourism industry. But much, at least coming from the way you replied to me, as a diver to another diver, I felt, that we are on the same page. And thank you very much.
Professor Gounaris, can I make here? Can I tell you something, please?
Of course.
Yes, I would like to contribute here to the panel from my personal experience about diving. I think health will go first from diving. I went to Gatsby in South Africa and last year to dive there. I did not have my own equipment, but I used other equipment. And now with COVID-19, I would consider very much regardless. I would consider very much if I could do it this year or in a short time.
The question is very simple. Are you a diver or you are not? If you are training to become a diver, there is no need for you to have your equipment, and obviously everything you say is totally correct. But like Maria and myself, we are divers, and we are carrying our own equipment. I mean, we will never get ourselves into someone else's suit, okay? We will not get the regular
equipment
in house coming from someone else. We will carry our own regulators. So, COVID-wise, diving for the trained divers, let us be very specific, it's very safe. We carry our equipment.